Well, hello guys, I hope you're all doing well. So this is an interesting one. Basically, I couldn't get any closer to this subject if I tried, but I'm parked on the side of the road and I'll show you in a second. Passed this place yesterday and I pulled over and grabbed a quick shot of it, and I'll pop that up here. But after reflecting on it and talking about it with Matt, was trying to find a better way of actually shooting it. And the problem I had was this birch tree in the foreground here. I really like the tree, the broken tree. But the problem I've got with it is it's covering up the tree in the background, and that's kind of distracting quite a bit. And I didn't really notice it at the time until he pointed it out, because it was basically a case of just jump out and grab the shot. But the more I actually look at it, I see what he means. And to try and clear up and make the image cleaner, I thought I'd come back and see if we can move around a little. Now, I'm limited for space here because I'm literally right on the side of the road. There's a fence right in front of me, and I don't really want to be going over there because it's not my field. And on top of that, there's bluebells everywhere, and I'm not going to go and trample all over those. So I want to try and limit myself to being this side of the fence. And I'm just going to try and move around, maybe try different focal lengths as well, just to see what's going to work best. Just to try and give these two trees a bit of separation, really. But it's such a lovely scene, and it's worth taking the shot again, I think. I mean, today it's kind of overcast, and there's not a great deal of light, but every now and then there's a little bit of light sort of creeps through the clouds, so it might just work out quite well. But I want to try and get this composition a lot better, because these bluebells are right at the peak, I think, at the minute. Colour's really vibrant and nice, so going to work around, see if I can try different focal lengths, try different heights, move around to see what we can do with it. So how are you doing, Matt? You okay, mate?
Oh, yeah, it'd be okay if I didn't have some bugger keeping me awake at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. And I've got a morning shift tomorrow on Sunday, but that's okay. That's the things we do for our friends, eh?
Okay then, buddy, you take me through how you would approach this scene out on field.
Okay, so, I mean, yeah, look, we've got a scene here. The first thing I notice about this scene is there's a lot of attractive elements in it, and this is the type of scene that I would definitely go back to after capturing an image like this, because there's a lot of attractive elements in it. You've got this diagonal area here, which is very interesting composition. It's not a composition you would normally come across. Having these diagonals going down here, I think, yeah, it's very, very attractive. Obviously, having all these, what do you call these flowers in the UK, mate?
Bluebells.
Bluebells, yeah, it's the in thing at the moment, isn't it, in the UK? Everyone's taking photos of bluebells. They must be bloody everywhere.
Yeah, they are at the minute.
It's like sunflowers in Tuscany, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one.
So, I mean, you've got these attractive bluebells. It's obviously a seasonal thing. I mean, they're going to be only there and they're going to be gone in about a few weeks' time. So,
yeah, you kind of that probably.
You want to capture them while they're there. So you've got these beautiful, attractive colours. One thing that I do like about the image is, as I said, this diagonal composition that's coming through. If we look at this top right-hand corner here, we've got a bit of atmosphere. So the first thing I would say is to maybe give this horizon, just pop it up a little bit more, just to give the scene a bit of atmosphere, because it does tend to be a bit flat. It needs something in it to make you feel that you're there. I mean, as I said, it's a beautiful scene. The major issue that I see with a capture like this is we have two very, very important elements in the image which actually make or break an image, and it feels like they're fighting up against each other. I really love the way how you've got this trunk coming through here and this dead one on the ground, this broken one on the ground, sorry, which actually says a lot. It tells you that this branch has actually clearly fallen off this tree here, but at the same time, it reinforces this diagonal composition through here by giving you almost like this L shape. So it's got a bit of a story behind it. I really like the way that it's framed up. The problem here with this is that we have a very, very dominant tree in the background, which is basically forcing itself up against this one here. So it's like they're fighting against each other. And this particular area here is very, very distracting to the eye. So if I was out on field and I could see something like that, obviously the first thing you're going to see is this dominant frame, I would say, this L shape through here, which blends you into the background area. And the first thing you're going to do is pull your tripod out and be blown away by it and just take an image of it, but realise later on a big screen, hey, I've got this tree here. This tree behind here is actually a brilliant frame. Look at those branches moving across through that area there. They make an incredibly beautiful frame for the whole entire image, as does this here. But unfortunately, this branch here and this tree in the background fight up against each other. This is a clear mistake that a lot of people make, especially when they're actually composing on an LCD screen. They sometimes don't see those fine details until they get home and put it up into post-production. Normally, when I'm out on field with a scene like this, I always compose through my viewfinder, and I feel like when I'm composing through a viewfinder, I have such a bigger image to look through. It's hard to understand. Through my viewfinder, I would see that straight away. I would see that you have these two dominant issues here fighting against each other. So I would probably consider actually taking two separate images here. So taking one image, maybe moving across to the right-hand side of the frame a little bit with your camera and trying to get this area in with this tree here actually moved off completely to the right-hand side of the frame so it's out of the picture. And then I'd actually consider taking another shot, moving even further right to actually remove this dominant frame too. So I think you could actually get two lovely shots out of the one scene just by moving your camera a bit more. That's the major issue that I see with this. It's very impactful, especially the contrast, the white contrast of this. What is it, a birch, is it? Or
it's a silver birch,
silver birch. It's got very, very dominant whites to it, as opposed to this other tree in the background here, which I have no idea. It's an oak or something. I don't know. I'm not very up on. I'm
honestly not sure. I'm not sure about that one.
But this is very, very dominant, and I think it definitely deserves two separate frames to get two beautiful shots out of just this one area. So it just goes to show you when you're out on field, it's just better sometimes to grab your camera, look through the viewfinder, and scout around before you get your tripod out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks very much for that, buddy.
No worries, mate.
We'll head back into field and see how I approached it after all that.
Beautiful. Looking forward to seeing the results.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. So one of the really handy things I've got going on here is because I'm so close to the van, I can basically work out the back of my van and all the gear's just laid out for me. So it's nice and handy. And it's one of those things is where you don't always have to walk miles for a shot. Sometimes you can just drive past an area and see a composition right there, and it's a really good thing just to stop, if it's safe to do so, and try and grab a shot. Sometimes these sort of things can work out really well for you, and because it's so close, you can just keep coming back. Obviously, at the minute, it's not somewhere I would come back to unless we had the bluebells in flower at the minute. So it's somewhere you can kind of bank and come back to when you know those conditions and those flowers are going to be growing, basically. So I've popped the 70 to 200 on now, and what I'm finding is I'm more or less needing to be in the middle of the road to be able to make it work, and that's not exactly ideal. So what I think I'll do is, I mean, I've popped off a couple of shots, but I'm not overly keen on them because they're pushing too far into the scene. So what I think I'll do is I'll swap this lens out for maybe my 28 to 70 and see if I can get somewhere in between just to kind of make it work. There's a couple of elements I'm not keen on with the 70 to 200. It's bringing in a bit too much of this branching down here, and it feels more boxed in rather than an open scene. So I'm going to try this other lens and see if we can make it work that way, and maybe what I'll have to do is try and get closer to the fence and try and get in between these two branches. So looking at the back of the screen, as I've moved closer into the fence line, what you can see happens is because of where it is, it starts to position the tree right in front of that tree that's right behind there. Just there. And it's like the first image I took. And really, ideally, I want that to be over to the right so that you can see that tree behind it. Try and get that back. So you can see that tree behind it a lot better. And that kind of separates the scene out a lot nicer, I think, and it's more pleasing to the eye. Right,
Okay.
mate. So I went back and tried the shot from a different angle, more so that this tree was separated from the other one. So what are your tips going to be this time?
Okay, so looking at this, yeah, definitely. You've approached this more in a way that we can sort of appreciate more this this beautiful tree. I mean, look at the tones in it. Look at those natural curves in it. It's
yeah.
It definitely gives the image a better frame. I think it's a shame that we have to eliminate this tree trunk here because it is beautiful to have it in there. But it's even now that you've moved across, there's still, I think it's just far too dominant to just take over from this tree here. So it's just too messy, I think, you know. Mm-hmm. Keep things nice and simple. So, okay. So to probably approach this, I would go and do some cropping. The issue here, we might come into an instance where maybe cropping out too much, we're going to make this tree sort of fall out of that right-hand third in the frame. But we'll give it a go. So, look, I'm just going to open it just for argument's sake straight into Photoshop. We'll just avoid any ACR.
Yeah. And
we'll just open up a new file. So if I bugger it up, we can always go backwards, can't we? Or you can just delete it.
Yeah.
The conversation.
Yeah.
So, okay, if we go into here, we get the cropping tool out. So we're going to try and keep the original ratio, I would say. It's a big file, guys, and let me see. No, we won't go the original ratio. We will just go ratio. So I would probably let's just see how things look. I mean, cropping is such a huge factor into what we do, isn't it? As a general rule, I try and not crop as a ratio instantly. I first try and just crop your scene, get it exactly where you want, and you can always get the right aspect ratio out of it later on using various tools that Photoshop have to offer, you know, like slight warping and things like that. So if we see here, if we crop to there, so we take that tree trunk out, I mean, you can obviously notice that this tree's probably maybe just a little bit falling out of that third. I would probably consider bringing it back to about here. All right.
Yeah.
So if we do that, we open it up. We've still got a little bit of it left here, okay? But that is not an issue. So what we can do is now, I'm just going to merge these layers just to make it nice and clean for viewing reasons.
Yep.
We'll open up a new layer, and I would go across to filter, liquefy. Liquefy is actually a really, really powerful tool if it's used correctly. Sometimes it can really distort, anything in your image that might have straight lines or anything. So you got to be very careful with how you use it. In this case, this is a field, and it doesn't actually have any specific symmetry to it that's very dominant. So if you warp part of these flowers and the fields out, it's not going to matter too much.
Yeah.
I'm onto your other screen now. You can actually see this. How do I, I've got to share my other screen now. I've got to share this screen. Sorry, mate, you're going to have to, it's because when I make filters, it goes onto the other screen.
Yeah.
Anyway, so share. Can you see that up now?
Yeah.
My filter screen? Okay, beautiful. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get a very large paintbrush, and we're just going to hit the edge here without trying to get the branches of those trees, and just warp them across very, very so slightly. You've got to use a big paintbrush. If you use a small one, it'll be very, very evident.
Yeah.
Just very, very slightly. Okay. I probably wouldn't do any more than that. Okay. I'm just going to bring you back across to my other screen now. So we're back over here. You can see that well?
Yeah.
Okay. And probably from this stage, I would just go and simply open a new layer and just brush out that little tree there, and I'll use this the clone stamp tool. I use clone stamp more than anything else because I can actually select exactly what I want. This is easy as pie because the field is so consistent. It's smaller patterns, and you can never really, really tell. Okay. All right. So with the clone stamp here, I'll just select a part of the field that looks very continuous. I wouldn't directly do it above because it may be noticeable by a pixel peeper. So maybe move into an area that's a similar pattern. Press your Alt key, select an area, and just drag it. Maybe not so much there. A bit more here, make it a bit more consistent.
Yeah.
Bit of this area too. How clean does that look now?
Yeah. A lot better, right?
That's a beautiful scene. I think that would actually make a nice square crop. I just think that this tree here, look at the textures and patterns through here. It's a gorgeous tree. And the good thing is here too, you've got this branch at the bottom here that gives you depth, Yeah. It's not just a plain out field. It's got something here that gives you extra depth, just moves you in nicely. You've got this lovely frame working through here. You could even pull the sky down a little bit more if you wanted to bring it back into a normal aspect ratio. But I think it works really well. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
it's a lot,
definitely.
It's a lot less cluttered than it was the first time around.
Yeah, it's not as cluttered. I mean, an image like this, you just want to be able to appreciate the flowers, the wildflowers for what they are. And there's nothing that's very dominant in this image now that takes over what your eye is actually supposed to be looking at. I mean, this branch here and this tree are just a beautiful, clean frame, just to give you the appreciation of what's in the centre of your image, because your eye is now just naturally leading straight into these fields here, and that's what you should be looking at.
Yeah.
And that's just I think that's just a great little frame. It'll probably even be better. I mean, you said you had difficulty because you had a fence.
Yeah.
So you probably had your tripod sitting up on top of the fence. You couldn't get down any lower.
No.
If you could have gotten down lower, you probably could have brought, these branches up a bit higher to be over the top of you to even give it more of a sort of a cleaner frame through it. But I actually really, really like that. I think it's really, really nice. Beautiful
a lot
image.
happier with it. A lot happier with it.
Yeah. If you bought some of the tones back out, it's got these beautiful white tones in here. If you masked in some of those whites and brought those whites back out, it'll be gorgeous. Yeah, yes. It's a great image. Great image.
Well, super.
Well done,
cheers.
Mate.
Cheers for that, buddy.
No worries.
I'd like to hear what you actually think below. Do you like the first composition and the first light, or do you think coming back and altering my position has made all the difference? Let me know in the comments below. Well, thanks so much for watching, guys. If you've liked the content, please like and subscribe. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.